मिलते नहीं सहज ही मोती गहरे पानी में, मिलते नहीं सहज ही मोती गहरे पानी में, मुट्ठी उसकी खाली हर बार नहीं होती, कोशिश करने वालों की कभी हार नहीं होती।
Hello friends, I welcome you in this session. In this session, I am going to discuss the monetary policy tools which are employed by the Central Bank of India. So friends, in this lesson, I will discuss the basic concepts about the monetary policy tools. I will discuss the previous year questions which have been asked by the UPSC, and you will get to know that how we can use the concepts in solving the questions of the UPSC. So friends, first of all, let us discuss what will be the contents of this slide. So we will discuss about the monetary policy. What are the different instruments of monetary policy or tools of monetary policy? For example, cash reserve ratio, statutory liquidity ratio, open market operations, and the bank rate. First of all, we need to understand what is the meaning of money supply, or in alternative words, we can say credit creation in the economy. So as a layman, we can see that the central bank or the RBI, it issues some currency, right? Now this currency is issued to whom? Who gets this currency? So the institution who gets this currency is no one but the bank itself. So different banks, they receive this. Now they give this currency to the customers. For example, Mr. A. Let us consider that rupees 100 have been given by the bank to Mr. A. Now, as a tendency, as an habitual pattern, Mr. A, for example, he keeps rupees 20 with its for his day-to-day requirement, and rupees 80 he deposit with the bank again. So this rupees 80 is again going to the bank. This rupees 80 is again going to the bank. This rupees 80, when it comes back to the bank, now again bank will give loan to Mr. B, because the main business of the bank is to give the loan and to earn the money. That is the only purpose of the bank. Why bank exists? They exist so that they can give the loan and they can earn the money. Therefore, bank will give rupees 80 to Mr. B. Again, Mr. B, as an habitual pattern, he will retain, for example, rupees 20 with himself, and rest of the rupees 80 he will give back to the bank. So we can see the bank is again receiving rupees 60. Now again this 60 rupees will be given to Mr. C. Mr. C. So we can say that rupees 100 is getting circulated in the economy, and this 100 rupees amount is creating more than 100 rupees of money supply in the market. So this is what I mean by the money supply, that the currency of just 100 rupees which was issued by the Reserve Bank of India is actually getting reflected in the economy as more than rupees 100. So we can see rupees 100, rupees 80, rupees 60, and so on. So this becomes a cycle. More and more money supply is getting created. Now, how this money supply impacts the Indian economy, we will see that, right? So there are two ways this money supply impacts the Indian economy. First of all, it affects the price levels, or in other words, the inflation, महंगाई, right? Secondly, it impacts the growth rate. Let us see each of these, how the inflation is impacted and how the growth rate is impacted. First of all, regarding the inflation, for example, the money supply is rupees 100. Now we increase this money supply to rupees 120. So money supply is increased from rupees 100 to rupees 120. That means more money will be getting into the pockets of citizens. That means they will have more purchasing power. Now they can demand more goods. When they have the more purchasing power, they can demand more goods. And when they demand more goods, then the supply is not automatically increased. Automatically is not, it is not increased automatically. So therefore, when demand is increased but supply remains constant, automatically the prices will increase. The prices will increase. Right? So we can clearly see that more the money supply, more the prices. So if we want to control the prices, then we have to control the money supply. So this is the first impact of the money supply. This impact is also equally valid vice versa. That means when money supply is less, the prices will also be less. Now let us see the second one, that is the growth rate. What is the impact upon the growth rate? So when we increase the money supply, just like here from 100 rupees to the 120, that means more money is available for the lending to the customers. When more money is available, that means the businessman can invest more amount into his business. If the businessman can invest more money, that means the production is increased. When the production is increased, that means the GDP is increased. And when the GDP is increased, that means the growth rate is increased. So we can say more the money supply, more is the growth rate. Right? So this is how the money supply impacts the inflation level as well as the growth rate in the country. Now friends, you might think that, sir, you are saying in the first impact, you are saying that money supply increase means more demand, but supply does not increase correspondingly. And sir, you are saying in the second one that more money supply means more production. So there is a contradiction. So friends, theoretically it might look like contradiction, but practically you just visualize that the production does not enhance automatically. It does not enhance very suddenly. If a businessman has to establish its factory, then it takes time. He has to buy the land, he has to get the government approvals, he has to hire the labor, and he has to find the market. So it may take years. Therefore, increase in money supply does not immediately impact the production level. The supply is not immediately enhanced. It is enhanced in the long term. However, the demand is enhanced in the short term. Therefore, the demand and supply mismatch is always there. Right? So I think this point must be very much clear to you now. So at this level, we can clearly see that both the price level and the growth rate are directly impacted. Now, this proposition indicates that we have to regulate the supply of money so that we have a control over the price level and the growth rate. Both are very, very important for the day-to-day life of the people. Therefore, we have a concept called monetary policy. Right? So monetary policy is the policy which actually controls the credit flow or the money supply in the market. And this is the responsibility of the central bank. The Reserve Bank of India Act or the law of Reserve Bank of India has given this power to the central bank. And in 2016, the central bank constituted the Monetary Policy Committee, which is established as per the Reserve Bank of India Act only. Right? Therefore, we can see that this monetary policy is very, very important. So what is the meaning of monetary policy? We can see over here, monetary policy refers to the policy of the central bank with regard to the use of monetary instrument under its control to achieve the goals specified in the act. And the goals are nothing but twofold only. One is the price stability and second is the growth rate. Price stability and the growth rate. These two are the goals which can be achieved with the help of the monetary policy tools. This monetary policy committee is the responsible agency. The purpose is both the price stability and the growth, right? The purpose is to control the prices as well as to control the growth. Now, let us see what kind of tools or instruments are used in the monetary policy. So, overall, there are two kinds of tools which are used in the monetary policy. One is the quantitative tools, another is the qualitative tools. The quantitative tools, the name itself suggests that it controls a quantity of money supply in the market. That how much should be the quantity? Should it be increased or should it be decreased? If the prices are rising beyond a level, then we have to decrease the monetary supply. If the prices are falling down, then we have to increase the monetary supply. Therefore, these instruments directly impact the total quantity of the monetary supply, right? So that is why they are called the quantitative tools. Second category is the qualitative tools. The qualitative tools basically means the tools which impact the usage of the available quantity. Should that money be used by the businessman or by the consumer or by the government, or how that money should be distributed among the industry, agriculture, service sector. So all these things are controlled with the help of the qualitative methods, right? So we can see the quantitative controls, they focus upon the volume of credit, and the qualitative measures, they control the specific use, right? Here we can see the different examples: the cash reserve ratio, the statutory liquidity ratio, the bank rate, and all these are basically the examples of the quantitative tools. Similarly, we have the margin requirement, selective credit control, consumer credit regulation, and so on. So we will discuss each of these tools separately. Right now, we will discuss the first tool, that is the cash reserve ratio, right? And that is basically one of the quantitative tool, right? Cash reserve ratio. So friends, first let us understand what is the meaning of reserve. Reserve means any money which is kept separately, right, for future purposes. Which is kept separately for future purposes. That is what we mean by the reserve ratio, reserve amount. Cash reserve ratio, that means the cash that has been kept aside or kept separately for the future use, right? So you can get an idea about what is the meaning of cash reserve, right? Third is ratio. Ratio means something which is a component of another thing. That means it is calculated as a proportion of any other big amount. So cash reserve ratio acts something like this. So we have the central bank and we have the commercial banks. The commercial banks, they receive the money from the customers. For example, they received the 100 crore rupees from the customer. So rupees 100 crore are lying with the bank. Now, this bank, what is the business of the bank? The business of the bank is to lend further. In case this 100 crore rupees is lent further, that means bank do not have any money with itself for day-to-day operation or for any eventuality, for any urgency. If this customer comes back to the bank, sir, please pay back my money, the bank does not have the money with itself. It has given the loan. The loan receiver may or may not give the money back to the bank immediately. So bank might actually run into a difficulty. To avoid this situation, the central bank is saying that out of the amount that you are receiving from the customer, please give me some amount. I will keep your cash with myself, and if you have any emergency, I will give you that amount back. Therefore, this certain amount which is kept out of rupees 100 crore, for example, rupees 4 crore, this 4 crore is given to the RBI, to the central bank. This is called the cash reserve ratio. So this cash is given by the commercial bank to the reserve bank, so that the reserve bank can give back this amount in case of any urgency, in case of any eventuality. So we have seen many examples when there are fear, for example, regarding the ICICI Bank in the year of 2011. Recently, the Punjab National Bank also ran into some kind of the bad image because there was a scam. So people started, building the apprehension about whether the bank will give back its money or not. But since the Reserve Bank already had the money from the Punjab National Bank or the ICICI Bank, so people were rest assured that their money is very safe. So the trust of the people in the banking system got instilled, and it was strengthened. Therefore, this cash reserve ratio plays a very important role. So let us see what is the meaning of cash reserve ratio. Cash reserve ratio means a percentage. This is a ratio. So it is a percentage. Percentage of what? Percentage of NDTL. For the sake of simplicity, NDTL, let us say this is deposits. So apparently, or for the sake of simplicity, this is nothing but the deposit. The amount that banks have received from the customer, that is this 100 crore rupees, right? So this 100 crore rupees as a percentage of this 100 crore rupees, right? Percentage of NDTL of a bank to be kept with RBI. So this amount will be kept with the RBI in the form of cash. In the form of cash. So this amount will be given in the form of cash only. Please take care, this is the cash. Now, how the changes in the CRR impact the economy? How the changes in the CRR impact the economy? Let us see over here. So, if RBI it increases the CRR, if the RBI increases the CRR, for example, initially the CRR is 4%, now the CRR is 5%. So that means initially the bank can give the loan of 96 crore out of 100 crore it has received, and now it can give the loan of just 95 crore, not 96 crore, right? That means the banks have less money for lending. Instead of 96, they have 95 crore rupees. That means the lending rate may have to be increased, because now the money supply is reduced in the market, therefore the lending rate might have to be increased. That means the interest rate is increased. When the interest rate is increased, from the business point of view, it means the cost of capital is increased. Earlier the cost of capital was, for example, 10%, now this cost of capital is 12%. When the cost of capital increases, the customer may be apprehensive about getting the loan. For example, earlier the housing loan was available at 10%, now the housing loan is available at 12%. The customer may not go ahead because it may be very costly for the customer to give back that loan at 12% rate of interest. So the customer can borrow, they will eventually borrow less money. That means the money supply will reduce in the market, right? When the customers demand less money, that means the money supply will reduce. When the money supply is reduced, the demand is also going down because the purchasing power of the people is reduced. When the purchasing power is reduced, then demand is reduced, and then the inflation is also controlled, or the prices level come down. So can we say that increase in CRR impacts the liquidity? The liquidity is decreased, right? So the liquidity is decreased, or in other words, can we say the inflation is also decreased? The price levels are also decreased. Therefore, the cash reserve ratio and the liquidity and the inflation, they have the inverse ratio, right? So if we reduce the CRR, liquidity will increase, the inflation will increase. So this inverse relationship is existing between the CRR, liquidity and the inflation. Now let us see the UPSC question. The question is, when the Reserve Bank of India announces an increase in CRR, the situation that we just discussed, what does it mean? Very simple question. Number one, the commercial banks will have less money to lend. Yeah, this is very true. They will have less money to lend, we just discussed. Second option is, the Reserve Bank of India will have less money to lend. Not necessarily, because the impact is upon the commercial bank. Reserve Bank of India has a sufficient money. Union government will have less money to lend. There is no discussion about the union government. It does not impact the union government directly. The commercial banks will have more money to lend. It is completely wrong. So answer is option A. So this level of questions are asked in the UPSC. Very, very simple question. If you can logically discuss the concept, if you can logically understand the concept, then the questions are very, very easy. Let us understand few other things about the cash reserve ratio. The aim of the cash reserve ratio is to ensure that banks do not run out of the cash, right? The purpose is the banks remain solvent even if a lot of money is demanded back by the customer. This is the first objective. The second objective is to control the liquidity and the interest rate in the economy. The phenomena that we just discussed, the money supply and the interest rate, they are directly impacted by the cash reserve ratio. So this is the secondary purpose. One thing that you have to keep in mind is that this money is given by the bank to the RBI for free. That means bank do not receive any kind of interest on the money that they have kept with the RBI. This is a very controversial point. That is why banks always resist increase in the CRR. They always try to pressurize the RBI to keep it minimum, because they don't get any interest, they don't earn any income. They are giving the money to the depositor, they are giving the interest to the depositor on that money, but they are not getting any income from the RBI. This is one reason why the reserves of the RBI are increasing. This is one reason why the income of the RBI is increasing. This is one reason why there is a demand from the side of central government on the RBI that please give us money that you are earning, right? Rate of CRR is decided by the RBI. So it is the RBI who is deciding the CRR, and it is reviewed every quarter, right? How much has been the level of India's cash reserve ratio? We can see over here. So earlier it used to be more than 10%, very, very high, right? And because of that, the interest rate were also very, very high. Now after 2010, we can see they have been declining very fast, and now they are stable at 4%. So now it has decreased very much. The government has, the RBI has kept it very low. Now let us see the net demand and time liabilities that I just discussed previously. Friends, here there are few terms. One is net, another is demand, another is time, and then we have the liability. First of all, we need to understand what is the meaning of liability. So liability basically means the obligation, right? So if we see from the perspective of bank, if the bank is receiving the deposits, right, these deposit the bank is supposed to give back to its customer in future. So these deposits are nothing but the liability of the bank, the obligation of the bank, right? So this is what we mean by the liability. So liability means the obligation of the bank which it has to pay to the customer, to the depositor. What is the meaning of demand and time? So demand deposit or demand liability basically means any deposit or any liability which the bank has to pay back as and when it is demanded by the customer. So if customer today goes to the bank and says, please give me this much amount of money, then bank cannot say that I cannot give to you. So it is a discretion of the customer to get back its money. So such kind of liability on the part of bank is called demand liability. On the other hand, if the bank will have certain lock-in period for the deposit, for example, the customer deposits the money with the bank for 5 years in the form of FD, fixed deposit, then bank will have an obligation to return back that money only after 5 years. So this money is called time deposit. It is for the long term. The bank knows that before a certain time the customer cannot demand back the money. So this kind of money is called time deposit. So demand deposit means the money which is payable on demand, and it can exist in the form of current account, demand draft, etc. The time deposit means the money which is payable on the maturity only. For example, the fixed deposit, right? So this is what we mean by the demand and time. Another term is net. Net means the deposit that the deposit that the bank has received minus the deposit that it has made with the other bank. So it is receiving 100 crore rupees from the customer and it is depositing 10 crore with the other bank. So it has total 90 crore net demand and time liability, right? So this is what we mean by the NDTL, or net demand and time liability, right? So here we can see net demand and time liability. Demand liability can be in the form of current account, saving account. Time liability can be in the form of fixed deposit or different kind of bond. Friends, you don't need to remember the different components. You just need to understand the meaning, the broad meaning of the demand and time words. You don't need to remember these lists. They will never ask. So let us see the previous year question. So you can see very simple question. The terms. So let us see the previous year question. The question is very simple. The terms marginal standing facility rate and the net demand and time liabilities sometimes appearing in the news are used in relation to. So you can see NDTL word has been used. A, banking operation. B, communication networking. C, military strategies. And D, supply and demand of the agricultural products. So even if you have just read about the NDTL, not about marginal standing facility rate, then also you can simply say that it is nothing but the term related to banking operations. So you can see very simple questions are being asked. You just need to have an idea. If you have the complete understanding, you can easily solve the previous year questions, right? So with this discussion, I complete this lesson. In the next lesson, I will be discussing about the statutory liquidity ratio, open market operations, bank rate, and other quantitative and qualitative tools. So stay learning, stay happy. Thank you very much.
तो खुद की खोज में निकल, तो किस लिए हताश है? तू चल, तेरे वजूद की समय को भी तलाश है, समय को भी तलाश है। चुनर उड़ा के ध्वज बना, गगन भी कपकपाएगा। अगर तेरी चुनर गिरी, तो एक भूकंप आएगा, एक भूकंप आएगा।